And hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, as you're coming on. Welcome to Rick Snider's Washington, where you get the whole story. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, even hit the thanks button. That thanks button's that little dollar sign down the bottom here somewhere, where you can donate money to me to help me, stay afloat financially and not have to go live down by the river or something. So I always appreciate it. Pays for the time. Steve, first up, thank you again. You barely made it first, but you made it first. So we have lots to talk about. I'll give it a minute to hopefully let more people come in. But I was at OTAs today, and I just wrote down 8 different things to talk about. So we'll have a busy hour, to say the least. I've been running all day. See if anybody else comes on board in the next couple of minutes. In the off season, I just kind of come up when I can. Next Wednesday is the next media opportunity to see the team, so I'll probably do a live chat that night too. Then we've got mini camp, I think June 5th and 6th, something like that. I'll be probably do something on one of those nights, and then we're all going to goof off for a while. You get to go to the beach. I don't know where I'm going, but we'll have some fun. Michael, thanks for coming, and Justin. All right, so we got a few people. So, and to those who were watching later, more people watch on replay than live for some reason. So thanks for that. And feel free to hit the thanks button, and you'll see the whole show run through again. So, all right, well, Justin's a big fan. Well, thanks. It's kind of funny that the stuff that this YouTube channel has opened me up to. It's crazy. Steve wants to know, do we have the NFL's offensive MVP, defensive MVP, or both? Neither would be it. But I'm not going to take questions for a minute. Let me go down all the stuff that was from today. So you're caught up on the news and everything, and then I'll start doing it. All right, so first off, Armani Rogers has a Achilles injury. They did not say a tear or anything. They haven't diagnosed it yet because they're still waiting on the docs. But anytime you get an Achilles injury, you're probably out for at least 6 months to a year. So I would not expect Armani Rogers to play this season. That's a bummer because, he played well at times last year on it. So, but then again, they got a lot of tight ends. So if you're going to lose somebody in a position, that's the one. Jamin Davis will be limited during the OTAs. He got with scope recently, so they don't want to push it on that. Okay, who wasn't at OTAs? As you probably know, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and Charles Leno. I didn't want to criticize Chase right away because I wanted to make sure that, what his reason was on this. I mean, you never know. Somebody in the family could be sick. You could have broken a tooth. You could have the flu. I mean, you don't know. I don't want to. It's a difference between, radio people who yell that stuff and real journalists that check things out before they have an opinion. Imagine if I blasted Chase for something and then somebody died in the family or something. You'd look like an idiot. I try not to do that. It comes too easy on there. So thanks, Anthony. I'm glad you came in. I'm writing down a bunch of stuff first, and I'll do questions. But no, in the end, it's Chase just didn't want to come, just like the other years. It's voluntary. He doesn't have to. But you know what? A guy that's trying to play for a new contract this year, it'd be kind of nice if he did come. I think it would have been in your best interest. These aren't hard practices. You're in classrooms for a little bit. You're on the field. They were on the field today, hour 45. There's no hitting, so nobody's getting hurt on it. So, it's a bad decision in my opinion, and I think Chase Young probably will not be with this team in 2024. I think he's probably made up his mind about that too. And so the team also might think, what can they get to trade him? Because if he's not going to be here after next year, well, they would get a compensation pick if he signs elsewhere as free agency. I don't see them tagging him, but that kind of stuff next year is way too soon to talk about just because a new owner's coming too, and we don't know who's running things. So it's hard to say. Montez, I don't know. Montez dances to his own beat too. And he's on a contract year. Come in here and impress people. Say, I want to be here, and nobody's going to love you more than the team that drafted you. Okay? And once you leave, you are a mercenary. And no one cares about you unless you sign some big contract that makes them. So it's really smart to stay with your first team if you can. All right, moving. I didn't hear Leno's excuse, but he didn't have to. Ron kind of just said, "Well, it's voluntary. I can't make them." And didn't want to get too much in a war of words. Ron also said Cosme would be playing right guard. Thank you. Finally, I've been saying that for a couple of years now. And then Sadiq Charles and Chris Paul are going to compete for left guard. I think Chris Paul is the better player there. Sadiq always gets hurt. I don't know. I can see Chris Paul. A lot of people like him. Think he has real potential on that. All right, let's go on to the next thing. Eric Bieniemy, first time to see him on the field. A lot of energy. Now, I've seen coaches with a lot of energy before, and they yell at players all the time and chase them down. Now, they don't yell at them to belittle them. They yell at them to inspire them, and that's what he does, at least. Now, I know some players that didn't like Eric in his last stop. I think Eric's effectiveness comes this way. If you grew up with, say, military parents or parents who were tough on you, then Eric doesn't bother you. If you grew up, with somebody who just said, "You're special, we love you, you never did anything wrong," yeah, you're going to have a problem with Eric. So, the guy's always chirping at people. He's always yelling, "This is an opportunity to get better. Let's go." I like the intensity and speed of the practice more. Rivera watched really from the side, but he usually has always done that and let the coordinators run things during the practices. So that's not unusual. But, Bieniemy basically said, "Let's go." And I haven't seen it like that so much since Norv Turner's first year when he came from the Cowboys and he was fresh off of 2 Super Bowls and thought he could yell at everybody about things. So, that's a positive. All that's a positive. David, I saw your question. Yeah, I'm always doing tours. I'll be covering the team, but usually I have a day to do tours in case you're in town. All right, let's go number 4. Oh, okay. Emmanuel Forbes. Now, when they drafted Forbes, I just said, my God, he's 166 pounds. How's he going to make it in this league? And I watched him on the field today, and I stand by one opinion. I think the guy's a good football player. I have no doubt of that. I watched him. Good instincts on the ball. Very good speed on the field. Is a baller. I think he's, from that standpoint, very happy. He has the thinnest legs I have seen since Manute Bol. Okay, if you remember, Manute Bol was 7'7", weighed like 200 pounds, and he looked like a space alien stick figure. That dude was thin. And I looked at this guy's legs and said, whew. So my question is, can you take the NFL pounding? That's where I wonder about him. But as far as stuff on the field, looked very good today. I have no problem with all that. Let's see. Let's go on to the next thing, which is I didn't write it down. Okay. So, all right, a couple of observations of players. Oh, I know, Brissett versus Howe. Okay. Howe, I thought, looked pretty good today and threw a lot of good frozen ropes, threw a couple good deep balls, got the arm strength. He seems to know the offense. I'm still big on Howe on all this. Jacoby Brissett, watched him for a while. He managed to get some good deep balls, but they didn't have they were playing 11-on-7 more on that time. So, but he did hit it. He won Diami Brown downfield that Diami burned down the field for. So that was nice. But I thought his balls were he doesn't have quite the arm strength, I think, that Sam Howell does, believe it or not. The red zone drills that they're doing, Howell got picked off once by Percy Butler. It was a nice move by Percy Butler. That was impressive. And, he could have taken it to the house. So competition is always strong, even though it's the first OTAs. Man, these guys still want to go at each other on there. All right. And my next point, which somebody just asked for VZ Baller Man, who looks good? I think Cole Turner looked like the player of the day. They threw a lot of balls to him at tight end, and he could catch them. That catch radius we talk about with Dotson? Well, Turner has it too. And I saw this last year in the off-season camps and training camp. Then he got hurt, and he just never got right last season, and it just was a missed year. I think if he stays healthy, this kid is it. He's a big target, can catch the ball anywhere, can really, has good hands, although at one point, Milo Effler knocked a touchdown out of his hand, just slapped it out. It was a nice move by him. So I still think Cole Turner is the one to watch out of this group. One late play, Jake Fromm did get a little time in. The quarterback had a touchdown, easy one, down the field to Casimir Allen. So if you're a Casimir Allen fan, he had a good day. Let's see. What else we have? All right, stadium. You guys wear me out with stadium talk. Okay, Poplar Point. I was just having a look at this because I drive by Poplar Point all the time, and if you're around DC, it's on the out, the outside past the Costa River. If you go to that stadium, you take the South Capitol Street Bridge, or also known um, by another name, Frederick Douglass Bridge. It's the new one they built last year with the arches. You go over that, and then that's Poplar Point area. It's 110 acres. It's a no man's land kind of thing. And I see no way that you can build a stadium on that. I think that's kind of come out. And I just don't see it happening. It's a nice, I think it's smoke and mirrors by the mayor, who maybe wants to develop that for other things. She had a big sign up today about, I saw it first time today. Mayor Bowser talks about Sandy something or other, like she's going to do something with it. No. Poplar Point to be nowhere to park. Okay, that's number one. There's a metro station kind of near it, but somewhat. I mean, with the heavy roads, that'd be tough to bring people in there. But I mean, you'd have to swim across the Anacostia to get there. I mean, is this that moat we were talking about? I don't know. I don't see it on here. And let me get a trademark. Could care less. All right. Sorry, Bob. I know you're watching. I don't care. There was some news out about the trademark and Commanders having trouble getting it. And you're thinking, what? What about the Wolves and all that fight? And, oh, my God, y'all are going to make my head explode with this stuff. Enough with the name, okay? Here's my advice to you. When Josh Harris comes to the podium after buying this team, his first words are not going to be RFK Stadium, Ron is fired, and I'm now running the Wolves. These things are not happening. Zero chance. So let's move on, because I can't take it anymore. I want to run and hide from y'all. You didn't get the name you want? Sorry, it ain't changing. RFK, it can happen, but it's going to be some time before this. Now they kind of intimate that it's 2031, 32. Good luck, Man, I don't know if I'll still be doing this by then. I'll be 72 years old. I'll be talking like this everybody. The way my teeth are going. So we'll see. Okay, so that's the news of the day. Here you go, like that. I gave you 10 minutes of real stuff on there. And I have some videos out on different things on it. So, and if you're also a DC fan, the George Washington Colonials have changed their name to the Revolutionaries. Yeah, that's a big difference, whatever. But at least they're not colonials who are raping and pillaging the land or whatever. Oh, man, that made my head hurt too. Too many people trying to be too PC-ish. All right, let me get some questions here. Sorry if you've already asked it, ask it again. Diami Brown, yes, somebody has there. I saw him make one great catch. There are 90 guys out on that field, and I don't have time or abilities to see everybody. And a lot of times they're doing so many special drills in this time, they're not really out there, a lot of them. So I wouldn't get a chance to see a lot of them. I focus more on offensive players right now. We'll see you next week. P.S. Do I think the sale will be finalized before the season starts? Yeah, I do. I know we just got through the owners' meetings, and they basically said, well, nothing before the 4th of July. It's not the money that's the problem, okay? It is the number of people that they have to vet through to make sure this all works out. You know how many times the Redskins have picked the Redskins in the past, have picked somebody and found out what problems he had? Oh, we vetted this guy out. He's the most vetted guy in the history of the world. And then you find out, oh, my God, he's got problems with this guy. That's what the NFL is desperately trying to avoid. And it takes time given all the people here. So, just hold on. It doesn't matter when the owner takes over, really, before the season starts, because I know everybody's afraid Dan's going to somehow sneak back in, which, no, it's not happening. But because the NFL owners are not going to let that happen. But the rest of the time, it'll happen when it happens. I think now it's either going to be July or August, but the season doesn't start till September. We haven't talked since the schedule came out, I think. All right. Michael's right about, they drafted people that they said were great, and then everybody avoided them. And, we all know some examples of that. All right, Ben, do you think Antonio Gibson could see some playing time? We were talking about this today on the sideline, and there's a real feeling, get him on your fantasy team, that he's going to be that guy and doing all this stuff in the middle of Eric Bieniemy he's going to be trying to do. I think he could have a really good year, so get him on your team for fantasy ball. What position group's the biggest question mark? Asked Wobo. I'd say the offensive line, just because they're still trying to do different things. Gates was at center, looked okay. Needs a haircut, but other than that, they're just changing a lot of parts in this offensive line, and it's critical that they get it right, or else Hal's not going to have time to be what he needs to be. Will Josh Harris be the poorest NFL owner? SJS. I don't know. I have never looked at the rankings like that to see who has so much money or what. It definitely will be, well, the whole unit that's buying this team behind Josh is worth $100 million, $100 billion, I should say. So they got some cash. If he needs to say, hey, boys, we got to all throw some cash in and do this new deal, they can do it. That's not a problem. Do we think we have a bad medical team, VZ? No, not at all. I've known Al Bellamy now, who became the trainer last year, came back. He was here in the 90s and with Bubba Tyer. I'm not sure when he left, but I think he left around 2001 when a lot of people left. He'll be – the medical team's fine, you know. The medical team helped save my life when I had a heart attack 20 years ago. Different guys on the medical team, but I can tell you I wouldn't be here without them. So I don't like bad-mouthing these guys. How's Logan Thomas looking? Asked Greg. I thought he looked okay today. Boy, he's a big guy. I think he's like 6'7" or something. It's Logan Thomas on here. Logan Thomas got a nice new stat sheet with all the new names. There's 90 guys. It's hard to watch everybody. But Logan is I can't find him. But anyway, Logan's a big dude. If he's healthy, he'll definitely be something for him. Justin bought a Chase Young rookie card autographed for $200 when he drafted him. It's now worth $253 if I get it graded. I'll get it graded now. Don't touch it. You know, if you've touched it, it's no longer perfect. The card market's come back a lot. You know, it wasn't for a while. But, you know, it seems like people are back into it again. I have a few of my old 70s cards and such. I'll have to show them sometime on the show. What's going on with the Brian Davis lawsuit? Asked Greg. I could care less. That's such a smoke and mirrors situation on all that. I'm moving on. You know, that's a distraction. Not even going to worry about Brian Davis. No, Brian Davis is not going to be the next owner, so I don't care. Just like I didn't learn how to say Steve's last name from Canada because I knew he wasn't going to be the owner. So focus on who's here, as coaches say. Justin won't even breathe on it. Okay, that's good. Put it in a sealed lock. Yeah. Let's see. Ben, how good of a season does Chase Young need to have to be re-signed? I have a feeling if he has a good season, he's not going to want to be re-signed. He's going to want to be courted all over the league and get the big money. If I were Chase and leaving Washington, I would desperately try to go to Pittsburgh because I think Mike Tomlin could make Chase a star. I know the two know each other. Tomlin's an excellent coach. I think he can make Chase something really special. So if Chase leaves here, if I got to tell him one thing, go to Pittsburgh. For whatever the money is, go to Pittsburgh. That's where you can do it. It's like I told Heath Schuler back when he was leaving, and the Redskins said, listen, we have offers from Green Bay and New Orleans. Which one do you want to go to? They let him pick. I told Heath was a good guy. I said, Heath, go study behind in Green Bay. Look what Doug Peterson just did as a quarterback. You know, he left Green Bay, understudied, went elsewhere, did well. I said, you go to New Orleans, you're going to fall apart. Well, he said, I want to play now. I'm going to New Orleans. What happens? He gets hurt and he's out of the league. Got to listen to me. Steve thinks he has his Len Hoss and Terry Hermelin cards. I think I have a Len Hoss too. Let me know if it's worth something. I got to pay for this place. And like I said, talking about money, you see that little, you know, we did that little dollar signs down there somewhere. Always appreciate people to say, hey, Rick, I appreciate you doing an hour special like this for us, you know, with no charge. And I'm not putting the site on a, you know, monetization. It's not behind a paywall. It's just me and you. But, you know, don't be stingy too. Throw some money back, you know, to show that you do appreciate it. There's that. Like, I hate talking about this stuff. It makes me a whore. I might as well go on OnlyFans and take my shirt off and do it that way. So then you pay me to put my shirt back on. I'd make even more money. Zach, how was Hal's control of the huddle? Seemed fine. I didn't see any problem there. That's not a problem. I think Hal's fine. The players like him too. So Let's see. All right, Michael. I think Chase. All right. Okay. Well, you might be right. We'll see what happens there, Michael. I hate to disparage people. Like that. DJ thinks Sam Howell will be good. I've been talking about Sam Howell since day one last year. Commander's floor is 6 wins, and the ceiling is 10, says Joe. Well, okay. If you want to say they're going to win between 6 and 10, I would agree with you there. I did the first run through. I think I had a 9 and 8. Steve, thank you so much. I appreciate you chipping in. This always helps. Yeah, life is expensive. I'm just an old pensioner trying to get by. So I'm not rich. Newspaper work has never been a rich man's game. But the great part of being a newspaper guy, which I was for most years until I got laid off, you can say whatever the hell you want. And you can tell anybody kiss your butt. But as long as you're right, as long as you're good. It's like being a ball player. You can get away with murder when you're good. Honest Brute, thank you so much. All right, I'll keep my shirt on. Honest Brute chipped in $5 for me to keep your shirt on. Thank you. And LimeWire3, thank you for chipping in. I don't drink coffee at all. Never hate hot drinks. Satchel Paige said never drink hot drinks. So, young people today don't know what I'm talking about there. But yeah. All right, DJ says 11 and 6. Well, maybe. I mean, I think if the offense can work, they could win 10 games, maybe 11. I mean, look at last year. They got screwed out of that Giants. Was it Giants game at the end? Or they would have been 9-7-1. And they got screwed on that bad call. Everybody forgets that. Oh, have tea on you. I don't drink. Okay, it has to be iced tea because I don't drink hot drinks. But thank you a lot more. So there you go. I made a few bucks already. The rest of you out there, not a big crowd tonight. I guess people don't expect me on. Like I said, in the off season, I kind of come on whenever. There might be some stuff for us. All right, Joe thinks they're going to struggle in the beginning of the season, like every Ron season. Yeah, which is true. And then pick it up. I always said Ron can win the Super Bowl in November. But now, their mid-season schedule, which they've always done well, they got 7 of 10 on the road. That's not easy. They should get off to a 2-0 start. You're playing Arizona at home. That's a gift. Okay, that's a gift. You better win that game. And then they go to Denver. Should be able to win that game. So if they don't start 2-0, it might be one of them 5-win years. But they need to at least get off to a good start there. It's a tough schedule. I don't know when it's ever not a tough schedule, to be honest. Okay. All right. So most people watch about 15 minutes of the show, which means we have a new cycle of people coming on. So we do. They all go, hey, Rick's on. I'm on TV now anyway. Might as well do this. So like I said, go back, anybody watching on replay and all, go to the beginning. I'll run down all the injuries, the player changes, the news. So next Wednesday is the next open media session for OTAs. So next Wednesday I'll be doing this probably again at night. I moved farther away from DC, so now it takes me 2 hours to get over to Redskin Park. It always took me a good hour and a half. Traffic in DC is back. Let's see. Steve says, I'm thinking EB might at least have the offense ready. Yeah, I mean, I did hear him today. He yelled at things. I remember one time he yells, this is an opportunity to get better. And he's yelling at them. Up the field, let's go. Push them, timing, let's go. Sam Howell threw a pick and he yelled at him, hey, you threw it to him, you go get it. Go tackle that guy. Don't go watch it. Go tackle. And for a quarter, and Sam's, decent, sized guy. A lot of quarterbacks don't like to tackle anybody. They're afraid they're going to get hurt. You're an athlete, man. You're a ball player. You got some muscle, and you go for it. Slam and Jam is around. I'm glad to see you back. You think OTAs and 7-on-7s are overrated? Absolutely. I mean, it's true. Until the pads come out, which is after a few days into training camp, you don't really know. But, I mean, skills players, I think you can tell a lot. Linemen, you really can't. So I saw John Allen smack a ball down in the air. That was pretty cool. But, yeah, linemen's the one that's really hard to judge. And this new rule with the kickoff thing, at any time you can just say, we're not going to return it. It's on the 25. I don't know if we'll see kickoff returns anymore. And Washington picked up the guy from UCLA who's a real burner on kickoffs. But that guy's useless to you, really. I mean, how many people are not going to return a kickoff? Now, if they just say we're going to start at the 25, frankly, to speed the game up, you should just say you got the ball on the 25, because that's what it's going to come to. That's a 1-year experimental rule. We'll see what happens. All right. How the 2 rookie linemen drafted look? Anthony didn't really get to see him much today on that. Like I said, 90 guys. It's hard to find everybody. So I didn't see anything that really stood out to me. Just like I didn't get a chance to see Fedarian Mathis. I wanted to pay attention to that, and I didn't get a chance. What kind of changes could Harris do immediately to FedEx Field, like fix the leaky pipes? Greg asked. Okay, so Harris said he was in this prospectus that he put out there to other buyers or investors. He said they're going to put $100 million into FedEx Field because it turns out they're going to stay there a few more years. Well, duct tape is very expensive, man. You've seen business, roll duct tape now costs a lot, so it's going to cost some money. Now, actually, they're going to put money into the rich people sections, okay? Not you sitting out there in the upper deck or, even on the lower bowl times. No, the club seat areas. That's where you concentrate your money. I mean, yes, it would be nice to fix the broken pipes, but don't expect a whole lot of change. People say, I want to see discounts, for food and drink. The dude just spent $6 billion on here. It's not handing out discounts this year. He needs your money too. $6 billion wants to get it back. Just hope he doesn't raise prices. And hope the beer is at least, new beer, not, from the Olympics or something. That would be nice. Not to serve you stale beer for what they charge. I think for me, if Josh Harris just gets up and says, listen, I'm not the last guy. Judge me on me. Try not to let the sins of the past color your opinion on what I'm trying to do. I think that's a fair thing to ask. It's sort of like we're going to hit the reset button, move forward, not changing the name, not going to the new stadium tomorrow. And by the way, that new stadium, you're going to miss FedEx Field because now you can go to a game for relatively small money. A new place is going to cost you a fortune. And a lot of people are going to be upset about that. But you don't build, $2 billion stadiums and still charge everybody $25 to get in, whatever. I think that's the cheap seat. There's like 3 of those, but there's $40 seats, $70. You can get them on the resale market because nobody's around. I think this year attendance will go up. Well, it can't go down. I mean, but all of you who said, I'm never giving Dan Snider another dollar of my money, are you coming back now? Because Dan's going to be gone. I think it wouldn't surprise me if attendance went up 10 grand this year, at least in the early games. And so it won't be all opposing fans. I mean, the first week is Arizona. How many Cardinals fans are around Washington that are going to or fly here? Not much. So I don't know. That could be opening day, 50,000, 60. That's going to be local fans. Okay, Eli, OTAs don't mean diddly squat. I know. But that's all we got. That's all we got. What do you want me to do? Play Stratomatic? I mean, it's all we have, so we talk about that. Do I expect them to work on a new stadium sooner than later, says Joe? Well, let's start, but it takes a while anyway. I mean, it takes a while they're getting into negotiations, but then you got to design your stadium unless you want to take Dan's plans for a moat. I mean, I read today where Dan was wanting a dedicated tunnel from Elon Musk and drill through, and they could have cars go directly to the far reaches of Prince William County. That was interesting. I'll give it that. So I didn't know Dan had that kind of imagination. So they're going to work on it, but it's just going to take a while. You're not going to be in this new stadium tomorrow. Week 1 should be 90% Washington fans, says Ben. I agree. Should be. The question is how many are there. But I think they'll have some. Go back to the old days when you couldn't get out of that parking lot for an hour. Remember those? Now you just go right out of there. So personally, I kind of like when there's less people in my way. I don't leave right after the game, but I usually leave now and in recent years because I don't do as much on game day. I leave an hour and a half after the game. It used to be like 3 hours. I think everybody was gone. Now I actually do catch the very tail of traffic. The new stadium, I don't see much for tailgating. Like I said, we're talking 10 years maybe before they're really in the new stadium. 8 years, 10 years. It's a long time. Worry about then, as I tell people. I worry about today now. All right, caught up to everybody. All right, so we've been on 30 minutes. Perfect time to hit that dollar button again. There I go. There I go, being a But if you want to do the OnlyFans thing, we can. I'm just warning you. I probably got a tan line everywhere. See, look at that. Starting to be outside all the time. So now I've got all these tan lines. My garden, for those of you who have asked me, my garden's doing okay. It's coming up. My son-in-law asked me to plant wheat in my new place. So I've got a small patch of wheat. I have no idea I've never done wheat, even as a kid when I worked in farms. I come from a long line of farmers. So it's interesting. I'm doing sunflowers, some corn, some melons, stuff like that, just to try it. It's part of semi-retirement, trying something new from the old days when I used to work on farms a lot, stuff like that. All right, Paul is back. How long will it take before Josh owns the team? Well, I guess we should say August at this point. Is Virginia serious about $1 billion? Who says that? That was Harris saying 1.5 is expected from Virginia. I'm sure he got that from Dan. He's using that for his investors. And I call BS on that all day long. No, they're not. Now, I do think that we call it Redskin Park, Commanders Park now, I guess. I think it could stay in Virginia even if the team plays in D.C. If you do that, there's a lot of payroll money going through there, a lot of payroll money. So it would be interesting. I think they'd stay out in Virginia because they're really, especially as tight quarters we talk about, putting in a stadium, where are you going to put in a team facility? I don't think they'll stay in Ashburn per se, because, man, if you've been in Ashburn around them, they've got these humongous buildings that are internet servers. They're beyond the Great Pyramids. They're so big. And so I expected Josh Harris would sell that land that they have there, make a lot of cash, and help buy stuff, pay for something new. How long would let's see? All right, so Joe, just hoping can have a winning season. Well, that would be nice if we talked about that. I think they have a chance. If things go right, they can have a winning season. I'm not as down on them as the national guys are, but they're not here every day seeing stuff. Bears versus Commanders will be a good game, says DJ. Yep, that's a Thursday night game at FedEx this year, almost to the day of last year's Thursday night game out in Chicago. Kind of weird, but got to win that one too. The games on your schedule, you got to win some. All right. So, all right, let's do it. We always seem to get harsh schedules. Well, Mr. Pierce. What is it? Mr. Pierce? Garnett Allen. Oh, okay. Hey, man, you got to play everybody. The way the schedule sets up, it's for balance more than anything. And you got to still play 6 games against the East, which is now good again. So, did you see Jerry talking about he expects the Commanders to be sold? Jerry loves getting in front of mics. I like Jerry, just because it makes my job easy. Is Snider still under investigation? Asked Paul. Yes. Mary Jo White's still out there with that report. I think they're going to wait until Dan sells, and then they'll read off whatever parts they're going to read off. I have no, faith in that. I saw Goodell's, trying to get another 3-year deal, and that'll probably be it for him. And they're talking about restructuring the league office. So a commissioner is not quite the same thing leading the group. It's become big business now. And the owners want to have more say in some things instead of having a commissioner decide, although he does whatever they want him to. Joe, have Eric as the new offensive coordinator is such a big deal. Scott was such a bad one. It's so predictable. Well, Scott didn't do well in his time here. We gave him the benefit of the doubt for a while, but it didn't work out. I think Bieniemy is a big addition for them, bigger than a lot of players could be. So I think he's going to get a sense of urgency and basically say, here's how we won titles in Kansas City. Here's how we can win titles here. It takes everybody busting their butt. Okay, that's rule 1. Rule 1, got to work as hard as you can. Rule 2, you got to have some good players. But if you don't work as hard as you can, I don't care if you have good players or not. Let's see, Gregory, do you expect any NFL owners to vote no on the new owner? Behind the doors, when they do that first vote, there might be, but they'll have enough to carry the day. And this happens in the Supreme Court, too, of the United States. I've read stories about it, where the Supreme Court Chief Justice said, listen, we're 7-2. You 2 guys are now voting yes with the majority. It's a 9-0 vote. Same thing will happen here. Joe, look at the Giants. Not the best roster, but pretty good coaches, and they won games. Yeah, I mean, they finally found a guy that knew how to tap into their quarterback, and he had a good year. But you have to have the right coach to do that. Ben, thank you so much for tipping in. I appreciate that. See, Ben knows how to hit that thanks button with that $ down below. So the rest of you follow suit, chip in. Not a big crowd tonight, but that's okay. Even $2 is a help. Just a way of saying, Rick, you worked all day. You left home at 7:30 in the morning, and gosh, here we are 13 hours later, and you're still doing this stuff. I thought you were going to retire. Well, we'll see what this season brings. But I'll worry about next year. I'll worry about next year, as I like to say. At this point in my life, I worry about now. I don't have 5-year plans. I don't worry about a lot of late things because I've had my health problems over the years, and I just know how life can change in a second. Some of you know January of last year, I was in my kitchen, and boom, I'm on the ground, and I can't move my right side. And I'm thinking, this is a stroke. COVID's running hard. I'm in a hospital alone. Wife can't even come in with me. I thought I could stroke out, be gone. Well, it turned out to be a disc in my back, which hasn't bothered me since. Who knew? I mean, thank you, Lord, for that. But, I just, once again, tells me, worry about today. All right, so the Giants are a losers team, says Bozo the Clown. Okay, well, that made me laugh. Robin, I saw that the Commanders' trademark application was rejected. Yeah, I don't care. I that's all about selling T-shirts and merchandise and has nothing to do with wins and losses or anything. So I don't care about the trademark. I'll leave that to the lawyers to worry about, but I'm not worried about it at all. Greg, does Snider get to vote on the sale when it goes to vote? Well, the team gets to vote. One of the Snider's lawyers did the voting this past week at the owners' meetings. But so Washington would have a vote, yes. Now, it might not be Dan doing it, but somebody on his behalf will do it. So, yes, Washington does get a vote. Have I ever heard of any free agent linebackers that are out there we might sign? Anthony asked. Ask me after June 1st. That's what, next week? Maybe. Oh, by the way, I came across a really interesting story that one of the people out there sent me, Greg. And I didn't know this story at all, but Washington once spent a first-round pick on a quarterback who barely ever played for them, another bust. His name was Gary Beeman, who was out in UCLA, was a Heisman Trophy winner over OJ. The Rams drafted him in the second round, decided they couldn't sign him, and their coach, George Allen, traded him to Washington for a first-round pick. Washington signs him to a 3-year, $300,000 no-cut contract and said this is going to be Sonny's successor. So he's not technically on the draft list, and he only played 5 games over 2 years, had no completed passes, and it was gone. Never played again. And went into a very good career in commercial real estate, but there was a first-round pick on a quarterback that really never even played for this team. To replace Sonny, were they nuts? Sonny played another 5 years. That was really crazy. I just thought, wow, I never even heard that story. What are my plans for Memorial Day, asked Paul? I have no idea. That's Monday. God, I hate to sound like this. I haven't thought about it. I don't get holidays off like most companies do. I never have. At most, the newspaper would give you double time for working that day, but you didn't get it off. So I remember even covering lacrosse championships on Memorial Day. So I don't know. Maybe somebody will invite me out for crabs or something. It's crab season now. To me, I wait till after Memorial Day, because if you want to get crabs for Memorial Day weekend, they charge you crazy money. And I just read where the crab report is actually looking really good for numbers, so which means prices should go down. Just like, gas was supposed to go down when consumption was cut. They just charge you whatever you're willing to pay. I live down Southern Maryland, so we get them a little cheaper here, but I like them bigger. That's why I wait. I don't like small crabs. I don't like females. I'll pay for number ones, even though they're not really number ones, but I want them to be big. So I'll probably wait until sometime in June before I try crabs for this year. Michael, they'll now be changing the name to Washington Done Drying Started. Okay. You got me on that one. All right. And to the 111 Redskins, hook 'em horns, I guess. Thanks. Paul Green, why didn't Snyder keep the name Redskins until the team was sold? It's that woke summer where everything came together in 2020 and the NFL managed to pressure him into changing the name. I think they also had a report that they said, we'll kill it, which they did in return. I think they caught him in a moment of leverage. Uh, if he hadn't done that, would it still be Redskins today? Probably. That's another one of Snyder's sins. Okay, caught up to everybody. Good. We got 20 minutes to go. So you still have time to hit that thanks button. My next shot will be telethon operator. Okay. Ask Arthur Smith's dad. Okay. I'll ask him that. All right, caught up to everybody. Yeah, not a big crowd tonight, but like I said, it's a Thursday. No, it's a Wednesday. Shows you what I know. Can't stay out of trending news, Robbie. Well, nobody cares about the trademark thing. That's lawyer nerd stuff. Let the lawyers worry about that. Enjoy the game. Enjoy the team. Who cares about trademarks? That's just nonsense stuff. That's just something to moan about. I'm not into moaning. I'm into groaning. There. All right. I still got a few. Have people texting me questions that I happen to know. All right. Anybody out there live off the Dulles Toll Road? I was wondering this today when I was driving down the toll road. Silver Line's running finally, like 10 years after it was supposed to. And I was just wondering, any of you out there, does that cut into traffic finally? Are people off the road and riding the Silver Line, or is it just another waste of money? Let me know if you're one of those people. Michael, that's a bad word. You can't say stuff like that on there. All right, so we got a few minutes. You guys call it up. Like I said, if you're watching on replay, all the news I have in the beginning, just watch it from there. Just hit the marker and move it over timeline-wise. The Commanders go out and get a tight end, Paul. Nah, I don't think so. They got plenty of them. Just going to stay healthy. Like I say, I like Cole Turner. It's still got Logan. It's still got quite a few guys on there. Who was I looking at today? Let me look at my sheet real quick. Bates is still there, and Armani Rogers is now gone. And Curtis Hodges got a lot of work today. And he had some moments. All their tight ends last year had some moments. Just they all kept getting hurt. It's ridiculous. So they need healthy center. They need healthy tight ends. They need to stay healthy this year. You can't do anything hurt on there. So we'll see what happens there. Well, DC Super Steve is here. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. And it was pretty decent. It makes you wonder why they can't find a player or two out of those teams to help, at least for the end of the roster on there. Of course, we all saw Greg with 2 Gs, So, defenders are a good young people's millennials team, I've noticed in D.C. They just wanted something different than, the Redskins, Commanders, Snider. They used to chant bad words about Snyder at a different team's games. I mean, that was weird. And the beer snake. I always laugh at the beer snake. Of course, the team wants the beer snake. It costs how much does it cost for each of those cups? The lemon thing, didn't quite understand that. 111 Redskins over under 8.5 wins. Wow, that's a tough one. But I wrote down 9 on my first go through the schedule, so I'll say over. We'll know more after the first 2 games. If they're 2-0, I think they'll be okay. 1-1. We'll see who they beat. 0-2. 0-2. Eric Bieniemy is promoted. I mean, Michael 4-13. Well, Michael, way to go! Keep that optimistic thing going. I'm more worried about the nation defaulting and the markets getting crashed next week. That's what I'm more worried about. Hopefully, we don't do something stupid like that. Is that politics? Nah, not really. That's money. That's our money. I'm talking about. So let's hope they can still do it. All right, a few minutes to go. All right, you guys finally ran out of questions. There you go. The interesting part on the OTAs is all the jerseys say Commanders on it. It doesn't have person's name. It has their number. But for some reason, they do that. They did it last year, too. I guess you got to earn your name on a jersey or something on there. When I covered University of Maryland years ago, Friedgen used to it would worry about spies during the week at practice from the surrounding buildings. So if he was featuring one of his running backs, he like made all of his running backs wear the same number. So if someone was watching, they'd have a harder time figuring out who's who. That's real paranoia. Um, Steve says Snider made Cooley angry. Yeah, we made him rich too. So whatever. Let's see. Michael's talking about Republicans. Am I going to Arlington Cemetery this weekend? Asked Paul. No. I mean, Memorial Day is a really cool holiday in Washington. It's just very difficult to get around. I'm in Arlington regularly. I have 6 family members buried there. So I'm in and out of Arlington. I love Arlington Cemetery. To me, walking through cemeteries is not so much about the dead, but their lives that they lived. And there's some remarkable stories, throughout Arlington. Beautiful place to go visit. If you've never been, go to Arlington Cemetery and see it. You can walk it, or if you can't walk, they have a tram that you can take. I pay for it, but you do that. If you're military, I think you ride free or a discount. So Arlington's worth it. We used to call it Rolling Thunder. They changed the name a couple of years ago, but many thousands of motorcyclists ride down the main, Constitution Avenue in D.C. to remember those who did not return from wars. It used to be hundreds of thousands of people at one time. The Gold Star Moms come by and bless the Vietnam Wall on Saturday, I think it is, and that's quite an emotional thing to watch. So I mean, it's really like 4th of July. It's a big holiday in Washington on there, and the weather it's supposed to be a little rainy, but it's not hot yet. It's been a great spring for all that. I've been out tour guiding a lot, and it hasn't been too hot. I took a group of 11th graders around last week. We did 10 miles. I had to drag them to the finish line. Not that I wasn't tired too, but 10 miles on like an 80-degree day. I was like, come on, fat old man's going, follow me, let's go. Because unless you plan on retiring at the Jefferson Memorial, we can't stay here. So I like to move the kids and say, come on, let's go. Michael, Ron's one of the better coaches in the league by wins and winning percentage. I don't know about that. But I would not have ranked him. I saw a ranking on the internet yesterday where he was ranked 28th. And I thought, that's ridiculous. I wouldn't do that. Oh, it's 98, 90? Okay, I didn't notice that one. All right. I don't look at numbers too much. Yeah. All right, we got 10 minutes to go. Bring your questions in. Like I said, we've seen all the action. I mean, OTAs are just they're first looks. But you get a chance to get some first impressions on players. So, but I didn't get to see the rooks much. So we'll see. I did see Robinson running the ball. He looked good, So I'm not that he shouldn't, but last year the shooting started him late. I think he's a nice back. Kind of reminds me of Larry Brown. So I think Robinson's going to be a regular for him. I think Gibson's going to have a really good statistical year. A sort of a gadget player of so many different things. So if you weren't around when I talked about him earlier, put him on your fantasy team. Probably get him later because people outside of town won't realize it. Who am I picking in the Belmont, Paul asked? Probably Forte, but got to see the list. Preakness was a pig show. Should have had the winner. I outsmarted myself on National Treasure. But there's a lot of good horses going to the Belmont for those of you who care about horses. And I think it's just Paul and I, but I'll pick the race beforehand. But it's going to be the best of the 3 races probably. Forte is training for it and looking good. I used to be a horse racing rider for 5 years before I did the Redskins regularly. So I still have my horse connections. Okay. Michael says, Rivera's done all I can. It's time to move on. I kind of agree with that in a way. I would say, I think I've always said Ron was the right person to pick. He did a lot of things this team needed. But at the end of the day, you got to win games. And they haven't. They've been a 500 team more or less for 3 years. That's not the worst thing. We've had worse than that. So I think given he stabilized everything and managed to win them, about half his games and got to playoffs once, I think he's done a good job. And not forget, he had to go through a bout with cancer. I mean, Ron has my respect as a person. Jared Patterson, Ask unknown. Yes, I noticed Jared Patterson today made a really nice run, and I was like, "Oh, Jared Patterson's still here." Yeah, okay. So yeah, still alive and kicking. Robin, Ron's a decent coach. Just needs to have a decent, the offensive side of the ball, um, and that's what Bieniemy's here for. And they even changed things for Bieniemy. It used to be that they practiced early, because in Washington especially, it gets hot. Um, and I don't know if Bieniemy knows heat from Kansas City. I don't know if he knows humidity. But anyway, he likes to teach first in the morning. So they changed the schedules. Del Rio and Kaiser special teams said, I don't care. Because they used to go out first and then go in the classroom afterwards. And that way you avoid the heat and such. And Bieniemy says, no, I want to do it the other way. So that's what they're going to do. Probably going to do it in training camp too. When it gets really hot. It's not got hot here in Washington yet. And give it a couple of weeks. And we'll start by minicamp. Bieniemy will understand what the heat is around here. The other thing is they didn't have the gnats yet at practice, knock on wood. But gnats are usually awful around Commander's Park because there's a lot of water around it. And they weren't around today. I'm very thankful for that because they're just annoying as crap. It was like the cicadas a couple of years ago. Tyrone, a few players spoke of new energy. Did I notice it? Well, players will always say that. They'll always say that. Okay, that's one of the standards. Oh, yeah, these new guys, this is great. They're not going to say, these new guys are stupid. We're not doing anything. That never happens. So I discount that. But yes, I just think there was a new energy and more urgency, kind of kicking it back in again. And let's get better. And the defense has always played that way, but the offense didn't. So I think that's going to be a positive. Can the Commanders beat the Cowboys? Chris asked. Absolutely. On Thanksgiving Day. Maybe. Let's see who's healthy and all. But they play them on Thanksgiving in the last game of the season. So, man, anything can be so different by then. That's 6 months away. Either team could be up or down by then. Do I think EB could replace Ron Rivera at some point? Asked Greg. I know everybody says that, and I've kind of waited to see, but I could see it. If Ron decides he wants to step down or something, I could see it. Frank, do you think this is going to be a breakout season for Dotson? No, in terms of he's not going to get 80 catches. But what did he have last year? It was in the 20s, partly because he was hurt. There's so many options here, but he's a nice player. And the numbers probably don't speak to his value as much. I think he'll have a better year if he stays healthy. John, thank you so much for chipping in. I do appreciate it. Under new ownership, would I consider a position as team historian? Well, if they had such a thing, which they don't currently, haven't really for a while. I always said before I'd never work for Dan Snyder. I don't care. I'm never working for Dan Snyder. But Dan Snyder's going to be gone. So if I was asked, would I accept? I don't know. I talked to my wife about this, actually. I said, we're kind of nearing retirement. This today was my 49th year on some football field. Okay, think about that for a minute. Now, I was a kid when I started, included my own year. But 49 years on a football field, everybody says, we got to do next year. Well, I guess. But at some point, and when you work for a team, you work 80 hours a week. Okay, I don't care if you're the janitor, groundskeeper, the head coach. Everybody works all day, every day. And I don't know if I quite have that in me anymore. I'm glad to consult, as I have with this past group. When they would ask me questions, I would tell them things, but they didn't always ask me questions, and they got burned by it. But they didn't ask me about it, and I'm not here to offer the advice. So I would just say that as a maybe. I'd have to see what the job was like. I don't know. I've been a member of the media all my life. I don't know if I could go in-house. I don't think I'd probably do a very, very good job of it. But it's interesting because somebody asked me something today, and I can see now maybe they were scouting me. I don't know. That was interesting. But I'm not looking for a job. But if called on while I serve, we'll see. I wouldn't rule it out. I could always use some money. But I like what I do. I also tour guide. So if you're coming to DC, you want to walk around, and a lot of you, and I have had a lot of you come on. I do a lot of different tours around DC and see anything you want to see, really. So we do that. And I teach online. I teach kids U.S. history. and life skill classes. And I still write for WJFK, Odyssey.com, and 1067 The Fan. I appear on the shows a bit. And matter of fact, I am coming up in 4 minutes. If you go to News Channel 7, which is the old News Channel 8, I'm on Sports Talk if you're in Washington in 5 minutes. So I want to say, I got to tell my wife to tape this. I don't want to miss it. I was really good, you know. All right. And I'm telling her to tape the channel so I can do that. What's my best memory covering football? I asked the unknown. I mean, that's the problem with 49 years. They all melt together. I guess the Redskins' third Super Bowl win. I was covering the team in the 80s just to help out. I was a punk kid back then. You know, I had hair and everything. But I did cover the third game live. And so I got to go to Minnesota, and it was my first Super Bowl. And I just kind of thought, wow, I'm covering a Super Bowl. And I'd covered some big things before, but it was cool. And it was the Redskins in it. So I guess that would probably be my favorite memory, covering football. Hadn't thought about it. I don't usually think about stuff like that. Did Josh Harris buy Snider's mansion? Not that I know of, Paul. And actually, the one by Mount Vernon is now for sale too. So they're both like $50 million homes. But the one down by Mount Vernon is much nicer, I think. Not that I've been in either one, but I've seen pictures. When George Preston Marshall sold off things to Jack Kent Cooke, you know, the group, they made him buy Marshall's 2 homes in D.C. as part of the deal. It had to throw it in as part of the overall. So if it's $6 billion, and you could say, well, I got a $50 million stadium, maybe it's a 6.050 billion. Maybe that 50 million is one of the homes. That's interesting. I'll have to check on that. All right. So, all right, we got a couple minutes left. So, no, I really do have a bill. It cost me $5. I didn't steal it from the hotel. So, so I'm going to close out. Next Wednesday, I'll come back. We'll do it again, 8 to 9. I'll talk about the next OTA. You know, God willing, if everything goes right this week. And otherwise, thank you all for coming. Appreciate it. This hour goes by quick, and I appreciate everybody who donated to the cause. That does help because everything's expensive. It cost me $10 in tolls just to go out to the park. Now, $10, and then a lot of gas money too. So I kind of do it just to learn things more than profit from it. But I did write today on Odyssey.com about today's practice. If you want to watch that on 1067 The Fan. So otherwise, I'll just do my random goodbye so I can go see myself on TV. Really, watch yourself on a big TV. Very humbling on there. I like the small screen better. Anyway, thanks, Steve. I appreciate you coming. You too, Michael. And everybody else, if you're watching it at the end, you missed anything, it'll be on replay on YouTube in just a few minutes. They'll go through the whole thing again, and you can watch anything you missed, and all the news was up in the first few minutes. And then I'll be back in the morning, with another 2-minute report, 6 a.m. every day on YouTube and Twitter. And then the evening one is usually 5 o'clock, give or take an hour. Depends on what's going on and off. So I'm Rick Snider for Rick Snider's Washington. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday. But watch during the week, too. All right, everybody. Got to run. See ya.